So good afternoon, everybody. I am very glad to share with you that today on the forum of Summer Academic Internship Program, we have got Dr. Madhu Chopra from Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Center for Biomedical Research, University of Delhi, North Campus. She is a well-known name in the field of computational biology. Talking about the background of ma'am, she has been doing active research in computer-assisted drug design and development using various computational methods such as pharmacophore modeling, 3D QSAR, virtual screening, etc. Till now, her group has identified many important lead compounds against cancer targets. Along with computational design, her group is involved in development of anti-cancer compounds, considering GPCR, HDAC, and COX-2 as molecular targets. Currently, MAM is having the ongoing projects which are creation of bioinformatics infrastructure facility at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Center of Biomedical Research. She is involved in the project on design in development of novel inhibitors of AKR1C1 as potential lead candidate in treatment of breast, cervical, and endometrial cancers. Also, she is working actively on biodegradable nanogels as potential drug delivery carriers for development of target-specific chemotherapies from UGC. She has n number of national and international publications in reputed journals, which are indexed with Scopus SCI. Ma'am has many PhD students and she has also authored many books. So we are absolutely glad to have you on the forum, ma'am. Thank you for accepting my invite and coming and interacting with the students. I welcome you.
Thank you, Pallavi, for a nice introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So without wasting much of a time, they already 5 minutes have passed, and I can see there are many participants are students.
Yes.
So I'll try my to keep my slides as simple as possible. What I've tried to brief in my slides is initially what is drug design, overall drug development process is, and then followed by some examples which are successful in computational drug design and things like that, and then taking some examples from the lab and one thorough study from one target. So let me share my screen for the presentation. Okay, so today's topic is computational technologies and drug design strategies. So I think my screen should be clear to all.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Yes. So I'll be talking about what drug development process is. So drug discovery and development, when we talk about, we always talk about the modern drug discovery pathway, and the traditional was a little bit different, where we started with the disease in animal model. But now what we do in modern drug discovery processes, we not only identify the disease, but also identify the target involved in the disease, which may be a particular protein or any other biomolecule. So while identifying the disease, for example, the latest example is COVID, and we are trying to identify what are the targets where we can address the drug development process. So to identify the target, you have to isolate the protein involved in the disease, and it is a lengthier process, but not for a global emergency like this. We are able to do isolate proteins involved because the viral sequence was available and everything was done in, and now 105 X-ray crystallographic structures are available for this particular disease virus. So once we have that protein, its structure is available, we try to find a drug effective against that particular protein, which involves another time period of 2 to 5 years. Once you find some drugs, which will be the major area where I'll be speaking in more in elaborate in following slides, these compounds are tested in preclinical testing, which another takes 1 to 3 years, which goes to the formulation scale up and the approval for human clinical trials. So overall, if you see the drug discovery target or development process, it is a long process, which is an average of 10 to 15 years, which we are all scientists all over the world are just rushing towards development of drugs towards COVID in maybe less than few months, but it is a huge process and huge demanding process. So cost involved is also very enormous, like somewhere around dollar 800 million to dollar 2 billion. And why this much cost is there and why the time is there? So if we say the basic research is to find the drugs, which we start from somewhere 10,000 to 30,000 substances, which can be, we have to synthesize some compounds, we have to screen them, examine them, take them to the preclinical test. Then only from 10,000 to 30,000, only 10 to 20 substances enter into the development phase, which is called the preclinical test or animal testing. So you can say there is a reduction of number as far as drug development is processed, and the cost of this much 800 million to dollar 2 billion involves the failures also. So overall, the only one or two compounds will survive after the phase 4 trial. Now, if I talk about from the same drug discovery process and where the modern technologies are helping. So initially, let's say the target discovery, all genomics, proteomics, and other kind of omics techniques are helping in target discovery. Once you have the target in hand, then you want to try to find out few initial compounds which may be called as hit. This step is called as hit generation. Once some chemotypes are identified against a particular target, then we confirm it that whether this can have the specificity towards that target or not. That is hit confirmation. From that hit confirmation, some compounds which can work as drug-like, they go for optimization phase, which are called hit optimization. This is optimization of bioactivity also. I'll talk about little bit about that also. And finally, it goes to developmental candidate, which is called as a lead optimization step. And here is the final developmental candidate, which is checked for potency, selectivity, efficacy, preferred route of administration, safety window. All this is a drug development process, again going into the next phase and before the clinical development, and you get the approved drug. Now, when I talk about modern technologies, the first step is the hit generation, where your high throughput screening or screening 100,000 compounds in a day against a particular target. And this is parallel with the virtual screening, where we use computer to predict the activity. I'll be taking an example here for virtual screening. Once you have initial hit compounds, from hit generation to hit optimization, lot of new techniques such as combinatorial chemistry, where you can produce vast number of compounds rapidly in one pot and test them against that target. And from this optimization hit to lead compound, again many molecular modeling techniques are there, computational graphics models, and a few I will introduce during my slides, where they help the drug development process. Not only here, but once you have identified some lead, you can have, when you are going for developmental candidate potency, selectivity, efficacy, then also you have the computational models which are called in silico ADME models, or they can judge that whether a particular compound will have a toxicity in animal model or not. So everywhere in all steps of drug discovery process before the clinical trials, we have one method or other where computational technologies are used. So when I talk about target-based drug design, so as I summarized in last slide, so there are three kinds of approaches still people use. So when I say target-based screening, this is rational drug design. Target is known, its structure is known. You try to screen chemical libraries through high-throughput screening or through virtual screening, etc. Often what you do is you take a particular enzyme and then try to find out inhibitor against it. So people say that it is more artificial because everything is being discovered or tried to be discovered in vitro system, in test tube system, in 96 well plate or 384 well plate. And but they give initially some hit compounds. They do not give directly the drugs which are required. But if I talk about the traditional method of screening, which was called as phenotypic screening, which is not used now quite often, in those days, the biological targets were not known. What you had, that you had in mind that this is a particular disease which is affecting, you create an animal model, and then drugs were given to animal models for testing. If the disease is cured, the compound is successful. The third category is again modification of natural products, which is often useful because nature provides chemical diversity where no chemist can parallel it. So these three, why I put this slide is to show that what are the chemical entities or new drugs which can be discovered through these technologies. This becomes important when we use the computational methods, and which method should be utilized for discovery of what kind of drug target. So this slide has been taken from a review which was published in 2011, but I couldn't find a latest review on this topic, where this scientist, what they did was from 1999 to 2008, whatever drugs were discovered by FDA, so this is the approval authority of USA, they tried to see what were the methods through which these drugs were discovered. Say for example, they were categorized into two kinds of drugs: first in class drug or follower drug. If you have a little bit background of the drug development process or drug per se, then first in class drug is something like when we discovered penicillins. So penicillins were discovered through serendipity, and they were the first class of compounds which were termed as antibacterial agent. Then later on fluoroquinolones came. So you say fluoroquinolones were another class of compounds which were antibacterial agents. But what is follower drug? Let's say you discovered penicillin and then you synthesized analog of penicillin which was also a drug. This is called a follower drug. Now, which method is useful in discovering novel type of compounds or first in class drug is still the phenotypic screening. So you can see from 99 to 2008, which is not very old, still phenotypic screening gives 37% of drugs are discovered through this phenotypic screening. And quite a lot of data is added through target based screening. But when you look at the follower drug, the target based discovery helps in identifying the lead compounds. When you know some structure of the compound, your structure of the compound or already existing drug is there, you want to modify that drug looking into the enzyme binding site, then these kind of computational methods are very useful, and most of the things are discovered for follower drugs in computational using computational tools. So let me give you only two examples from literature where you can say successfully they discovered the rationally designed drugs. They identified the disease itself. This is a success story of imatinib, which is called as Gleevec. It was developed by rational drug design. What do we mean by rational drug design? That they first identified that this is a disease. It is caused by some mutation which is in Philadelphia chromosome, and there is a hyperactive BCR-ABL, which is a receptor tyrosine kinase protein. These were discovered in disease patients. So patients were screened, mutations were screened, and they found that in these patients some hyperactive BCR-ABL protein is there. This was a drug target that was identified, and then investigators screened chemical libraries, which was through high throughput screening. They identified a small molecule which was a 2-phenylamminopyrimidine. So when I say 2-phenylamminopyrimidine into this Gleevec, the pyrimidine structure is this, and this is the 2 amino position, and this is the phenyl. So you can think of only this particular compound was discovered as hit in this screen, which is called high throughput screen. And then this lead compound was tested, modified by introduction of methyl group. This methyl was put, then benzamide was put, this compound, this particular moiety was put, there was a lot of improvement. Piperazine ring was put and pyridine ring was put. So you can see initially you just discovered this particular portion of the drug, and rest was the development of the improving the selectivity, improving the efficacy. Then you have a lot more things to improve upon their drug discovery processes there. But once this compound is developed, it was discovered through the disease identification, target identification. So it was called as the molecule of the month or molecule of the decade, and it was also called the magic bullet because it was just going on to the disease target, and it is one of the success stories of computational drug design or rational drug design. Another compound which is I should talk about because it is very encouraging for students that we can discover drugs through this strategies, which is Maraviroc. Now again this is a success story for antiviral drug which was discovered against HIV. Again, the patients were screened. There were some carriers of HIV. There were some people who were just carrier of the virus, and there were some who were implicating the disease, where disease was there. So if we compare genome of two such individuals, like for current situation also, if we just have the asymptomatic patients and then see why they are asymptomatic and why there are symptoms in some patients. So this kind of analysis was done for HIV, and they found that in the patients where only HIV is there, but no symptoms were there, no disease were there. There was a mutation in some particular receptor, which was CCR5, which is a chemokine receptor 5. And if they then this gave a theory, if we discover CCR5 antagonist, so that in diseased patient also the receptor which is active is shut down, it will prevent the interaction of the HIV1 through GPE120 and CCR5, which is necessary for entry of the virus into the cells. Same thing is being tried for the current situation also. So CCR5 is the co-receptor which can be blocked, which attracted considerable, and same process was repeated, the high throughput screening followed by the optimization, and then the Maraviroc was discovered. So computational medicinal chemistry can optimize hit compounds, produce drug molecules. It is not just that it is a theoretical technique, but we have to follow it rationally with stepwise manner. So when we say how the design will start, then we are trying to find needle in a haystack. So if you say what are the possibility of compounds that you can make on earth, considering all elements which are present, you can make 10 to power 200 compounds. So every time when we say I'm making a new compound, a novel compound is being discovered, you are discovering already existing compound, or you're trying to make new. And you can note down this number. Approximately 28 million compounds have already been synthesized by various efforts or naturally present. They are registered on chemical abstract registry. So drug companies, biologists try to screen approximately 1 million compound out of these 28 million. By the compound should be available for screening also. Compounds that target using ultra high throughput technology. Then chemists, from these 1 million compounds, some compounds are selected. Chemists will be taking 50 to 100 compounds for follow-up, because chemists cannot synthesize all the compounds. So you need compounds. So for virtual screening, you need compounds. For high throughput screening, chemists work on these compounds, develop new and more potent compounds, and then it is given to pharmacologists to test compounds for pharmacokinetic and toxicological profiles, and 1 to 2 compounds are selected as potential drugs. So how do these drugs are discovered? This has been already talked about, but we can just say serendipity, like penicillin was discovered. Structure activity relationship, the old methods where you have one compound, you put another group, whether the new group will add on to the activity or not, that is the structure activity relationship. From natural compounds, of course, from the plants, rational design. Since 80s we have been following this. Systematic screening, since 90s we are following these methods. So when I'm coming now to the main topic, which is computer-aided drug design, when we call the computational tools, there are two strategies which we use. One is structure-based drug design. The other is ligand-based drug design. How do they differ? Both involve three-dimensional structures. But when I say structure-based design, it is the three-dimensional structure of protein or target is available. So we are trying to have methods like docking, where small molecules are docked into the enzyme binding site when the target structure is known, or we can design drug inside the binding site of a target, which is called de novo drug design. Or there are methods like molecular dynamics, where we try to find out whether a particular compound is fitting into the molecule, which is a biomolecule or target molecule, and what is the fate of that molecule inside the binding site. That is the molecular dynamics study. You try to mimic the real situation into the computers. Then you have pharmacophore modeling. I will be talking about more in detail here. If you do not have target structure, that is not end of the story. We can start from already existing inhibitors or drug molecules, which is called ligand-based drug design. So your ligand structure information should be there. Most of the three-dimensional QSR studies are performed here. Again, this can be taken help from the pharmacophore modeling and virtual screening. So I'll be taking one example which will cover the ligand based approach together with structure based approach, and you will try to understand what are these pharmacophore modeling, virtual screening, and docking. So this is basically just a small introduction of the lab, that just to show, ma'am has already introduced that we are looking into computational design and development of hit compounds for various targets. We also look into molecular mechanism of actions because we have wet lab facility. So once they are inhibiting the target, then we try to see through which mechanism they are killing the cancer cells or things like that, and we try to find out lead compounds from nature and targeted delivery through nanogels, etc. So this is a slide again I have put because most of the students in my lab are working at various aspects in drug discovery process. This is the same drug discovery process which I have highlighted in initial slides, and a lot of students are involved in virtual screening, or let's say the medicinal chemistry efforts to optimize the hit compound, or then improve the in silico, improve the pharmacokinetic properties and things like that. Okay. Now, for this particular approach, what we do in the lab is we first design the research based on the target of the disease, try to develop the pharmacophore, which again I said I'll discuss in detail, do the virtual screening to produce the initial hit compounds, try to procure those compounds or synthesize those compounds, do the in vitro screening using some available kit assays what are available on various companies, determine the, since the major mandate is cancer, then you have to determine the anti-cancer activity or anti-proliferative activity. Then we try to optimize the activities of compounds by chemical modification, and then take these lead compounds to the pharmacokinetic efficacy, study molecular mechanism, and all things like that. So these are few slides where quickly I'll go through this is a success story where we utilized a pharmacophore kind of model to discover new compounds which was ligand based. So we didn't use the receptor structure in the beginning. We only used the chemical structures which were inhibitors known for a particular target. This was a CCK target overexpressed in cancer cells. So only small molecule structures were taken. Pharmacophore was developed, and we tried to find out how the molecules are behaving, fitting well into the pharmacophore or not, and then try to synthesize novel compounds based on the information coming from this pharmacophore. This was the design of the lead compound, and finally we could say that these compounds had low toxicity profiles. They were efficacious, and we could develop a fluorescent tag ligand also. So these were efficacious to treat the cancer cells, to reduce the cancer cell viability for pancreatic cells, and they were shown that they could be used for in vivo targeting or ex vivo. This is only the cell MIA-PACA cells which are fluorescently labeled. So here when we when talk about the development process, we can actually, before the synthesis of the compounds, we can estimate how the compound will be active or not when we develop the pharmacophore. So we can estimate their activities. Once you estimate their activities, you can see here there is the estimated activity of these compounds before synthesis. These are the compounds which were known inhibitors for the drugs, and these are the compounds which were discovered in the lab during the with the synthesis. And this is the actual activity which came out to be very near to the estimated activity. So this kind of pharmacophore model tells you what are the functional groups which can be put into the molecule for optimization of hit molecules. So this was one success story which I'm not covering in detail, but I'll cover another story. This is another pharmacophore development where we first listed few inhibitors from molecules, try to identify what are the most important chemical feature and which is important for activity, and then we published this also as in JMM 2008, and this pharmacophore then was utilized for virtual screening. So this slide I'll come back when I'll come back in detailed example. I'll explain this kind of approach there also. Then we ordered the compounds, in vitro screen, identified a very potent compound which was having an activity which was far better than the known inhibitor for that particular target. And this is another success story where we use docking only structure based, and we identified some CDK inhibitors. Okay, now let me talk about the more in detail with one example so that students get an idea how to proceed for such type of development process. So when I talk about this target, this is HDAC, which is histone deacetylase. And there were several histone subtypes which are available, which are known, and the Aztecs are known for their various types of mechanisms in cancer. For example, Aztec 1 is involved in resistance to chemotherapy. 1, 2, 3, and 8 are involved in proliferation. 1 and 2 are also show that they inhibit the apoptosis, which is not good for the cells. That is why they proliferate so much. As 3, 4, 5, and 8 are inhibitors of differentiation. Again, it leads to the cancer. SDEC 4, 6, 7 are involved in angiogenesis. So from the primary tumor side going to the other side is called angiogenesis, and SDEC 6 is involved in migration. So you can see various kinds of HDACs are involved in various processes of cancer cell. So they are very important targets for anti-cancer therapy. So for rationale of this study was that we wanted to develop HDAC inhibitors. Since several subtypes of HDACs are known, we develop subtype specific HDAC. Say for example, if I develop HDAC 6, we can prevent migration of the cells. If we have the HDAC 1 or 2 specific, then we can prevent the induce the apoptosis into the cancer cells. So for example, so we want to develop more specifics to subtypes. Another important aspect will be the cost effectiveness of the approach, which should have wide therapeutic index with improved bioavailability. So method what I'll be talking about in this following slide is the pharmacophore modeling, ADME filters, and docking, etc. So when we say the approach will be, we will try to identify the pharmacophore which is to be used for pharmacophore screening. The hits will be try to evaluate after the virtual screening. Whatever hits are produced, they will be subjected to docking to identify the lead compounds. What is a pharmacophore? I've talked a lot of about the pharmacophore. So pharmacophore is nothing but it is a 3D arrangement of some chemical features present in the molecule and which may be important for its binding to the receptor. If you look at this molecule, you can find out there are some arrows, some mesh kind of structures, which are green kind of structures, some pink or blue kind of structure. So this is telling that this particular chemical moiety might be involved in binding to the receptor. And this example, presence of this planar ring might be important, which might be interacting through the receptor binding site through pi stacking. And this is a hydrophobic aromatic ring which is present. So this is collection of those 3D chemical features which might be essential for binding interaction with the receptor. And we are trying to identify that. This kind of pharmacophore model, which is a model, statistical model, this can be used as a query in 3D database search to identify novel structural classes of potential lead compounds. And the story goes as like we have to identify the target. So we identified the target, which was HDAC 1 initially. And we then try to see how many different research groups are working for that target. So we find out various research groups. So you can look for the literature data. And nowadays it is a database driven approach. You can go to ChemAssays or PubMed and go to the PubMed assays. You can download structures of the compounds with their inhibitory activity. Bindingdb.org is there. You can download compounds with their binding data with particular targets. There are so many things, but at that stage we were doing the manual research. So manually PubMed papers were searched. We identified total 43 compounds. Now these 43 compounds were inhibitors for this particular target HDAC, which we divided into training set and test set. Now training set will be used to develop the model and test set will be used for validation of the model. So these inhibitors were selected against HDAC1 enzyme and their IC50s were expressed in nanomolar. Sometimes few papers express in few other like micromolar, then we convert them into nanomolar. So one more thing we have to take into consideration, there should be a broad range of activity. When I say broad range of activity, say for example some compound which is known to inhibit the enzyme by a low activity 0.02 nanomolar, which is very efficacious compound. If some inhibitor acts, its IC50 is approximately 10 to power 5 nanomolar. If I convert into micromolar, this is 10 micromolar. So there is a wide range of inhibitors. So if this inhibitor is available, I'll say it is very potent compound, and this compound is not that potent. But when I'm developing a model, I should have knowledge of what is present in this compound which is making it most potent, and what is absent in this compound which is making it least active. So we try to take wide activity range. In log orders we say 10 to power let's say 4 to 5. So you can say log units of log 10, 100, 1000, 10 power 4, this kind of thing. Then you can see there is a log of 10 to power 7 unit difference between these two activity ranges. Then we try to you can say classify these compounds, these 43 compounds, into highly active, moderately active, and inactive compounds. So any compounds whose activity was lying between 0 to 40 nanomolar was termed as highly active. 40 to 400 was moderately active, and greater than 400 nanomolar we said it is inactive or very weak active, and then presented them for some purpose plus 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 and plus respectively. These are the structures of the compound. No need to pay just focus on these structures. Just try to see all these compounds are inhibitors of STEC1. There are some compounds which are altogether very different in chemistry. Like for example, this compound has some biphenyl and then some group here and then with a linker. But this compound is a cyclic peptide with some linker and a group here. This compound is another, has some linker with the functional group here, but there's a wide variety of this group here. So training set compounds had different kind of structure, and all these compounds were active. So if I say from training set 1 to 21, at least from 1 to 8, they were having activity in less than 40 nanomolar. All were from different chemical classes, all were showing activity. We have to try to find out what are common things between all of them so that they are active against same target. So they should have some chemical functionality which are common. So to begin with, the molecules are downloaded. Their structures are drawn onto the computational tools. You can use any ChemSketch kind of thing. But next what you do is generate their conformation. So what are conformation? Basically, the molecule can exist in more than one conformation. It is rotation around the single bond, which produces many conformation for the molecules. So there is it's not necessary the molecule will be active only in one conformation. So we generate variety of conformation what the software permits, and we know we feed in the activity data for the compounds. Activity should span, this is log order of magnitude, it should be broad. We try to identify how many hydrogen bond acceptors are there. Hydrogen bond acceptors will be in the form of nitrogens, oxygens in most of the molecules. Hydrogen bond donors again will be in the form of NH, OH, SH, etc. And then we try to find out the hydrophobic groups like CH3 or any alkyl or any aryl. Try to find out the negatively ionizable groups, COH. Try to find out the positively NH2 type of group, which are positively ionizable group. So a lot of generalized chemical features are identified in all the compounds. This makes the input, and this input is is fed into the computer to generate the pharmacophore. What computer does in the background, which is basically in the background, we don't know what computer does there, but we know what is the algorithm doing there. It tries to find out pharmacophore which are present in active pharmacophore or the chemical features which are present in active. Then it tries to see what are present in inactives. So these which are present in actives are subtracted which are present in inactives. So there is a subtraction phase here which goes in background. Once we identify those chemical features which are present in all active compounds but are there absent in inactive compounds, computer try to optimize through the dynamics process, which is some simulated annealing kind of so the time is not permitting, so that I cover the basics of dynamics. Also there are some other algorithms which run into behind. So this gives you some kind of idea that there are some chemical features which are present in active compounds, but they are absent in inactive compounds. So I will show you with the qualitative analysis of this pharmacophore. Once you get this model for the computer, since this is a statistical model, because the model can predict the activity, so we have to validate. So validation is done on the test set, or through regression analysis, or through some randomization process I'll talk about when come to it. The result comes in this form. So pharmacophore as a 4 feature, then you just pay attention to this correlation. Now this correlation is something which gives you correlation between estimated activity and actual activity of training set compounds. So when it is 1, if it would have been 1, it would have been absolute correlation of predicted versus actual activity. Now, what kind of chemical features have been given as pharmacophore? 3 hydrogen bond acceptors and 1 hydrophobic aromatic ring. I will show you the picture also. So this pharmacophore, which is giving the highest correlation, is picked up. Okay, rest of the pharmacophores which are coming have low correlation. There are other statistical parameters. Again, I will not discuss these statistical parameters, but correlation is sufficient to be done. So this correlation is based on how well the active compounds fit into all these 4 chemical features: hydrogen bond acceptor, donor, or whatever is coming as pharmacophore. So the fit value is also given as the output. So you can say compound number 1, which is very active. If you see the actual activity IC50 known from literature, it is 0.02 nanomolar or 2 into 10 power minus 11. So this E minus 011 is 10 to power minus 11. So the software estimates its activity as 0.13 nanomolar. Similarly, compound number 2 also fits with the very good value of 10.91. Its estimated and actual activity are also very nearby. Now the scale of plus plus plus. So all those activities which were in plus 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 were estimated also in plus plus plus. And then moderately active compounds were also estimated as moderately active compound. Inactive compounds were also estimated as inactive compounds. So what is reducing here is fit value. The compounds which have those chemical features which are fitting into all the 4 chemical features are highly active compounds. Which are not fitting into all those 4 chemical features, they are inactive compounds. And this kind of analysis will be used later on for screening of compounds. Now this is another validation. I can skip this validation step for simplicity. When people really work, then we have to perform this validation step. But now I'll come to the qualitative description of this pharmacophore. Now this is the picture which is obtained. So we obtain 3 hydrogen bond acceptors, 1 hydrophobic aromatic ring, and this is the compound number 1, which I showed in 2-dimensional diagram, which is fitting into this all the 4 chemical features. You can say this center of the ring is on the oxygen. So this is a very good hydrogen bond acceptor. Okay, this red one is oxygen. Again, this hydrogen bond acceptor is again fitting into the center of this ring. This oxygen is also fitting into center of this ring. So 3 hydrogen bond acceptors you can see here, 1 oxygen here, 1 oxygen here, and 1 oxygen here. All these 3 chemical features according to this pharmacophore model are essential for high activity, along with presence of 1 hydrophobic ring aromatic at an appropriate position. Now this is not a 2-dimensional picture, it is a 3-dimensional picture. I'm not able to rotate it here unless I open my software. But now what is different from all the 4 features? So it will have highly active fit value very high. But what is missing in moderately active compound? If I just show structural comparison of this compound and this compound in 2 dimension, this compound and this compound are exactly similar. You can see biphenyl is there, oxygen is there, a linker is there. Now this carbonyl is there, okay, up to this carbonyl, very fine. Now the chemist or medicinal chemist, instead of this NaOH, what they did, they put CONH, which sounds reasonable. It's okay. We are giving a hydrogen bond acceptor in the form of carbonyl and NH in the form of, we have displaced these positions in this molecule. But what happened when this pharmacophore was generated and conformations were analyzed, that these two carbonyls, which are alpha to each other, they cannot stay on one side. And what is required for inhibitor design is both the oxygen should be on one side, because they have to direct into the enzyme binding site on some zinc metal which is there, which I have not talked about, the zinc metal. So this carbonyl and this carbonyl, the energetically this is not favored, that this carbonyl will also will be facing in this direction. So this compound becomes moderately active. So just one simple chemical structure which medicinal chemists thought will be very useful, but computationally we can predict it is not rightly placed. What is absent in inactive compound is the proper length which is required to be there from this hydrogen bond acceptor to this hydrophobic. So you can see this compound is shorter in length and it is not reaching up to this hydrophobic aromatic. Even though it has all those features, hydrogen bond acceptors are there, one hydrogen bond acceptor is not fitting, one hydrogen bond acceptor is also missed, one hydrophobic group is missed. You can say when it is matching to all the four feature, highly active compound, matching to three features, missing one, moderately active compound, matching to only two features, missing two, it is inactive compound. Now, if I run a virtual screening using this kind of mapping exercise, I should be able to identify those compounds from the libraries which are fitting into all those four chemical features. This is my purpose. Next. This is just a slide to show that specificity can also be achieved through pharmacophore modeling. We can pick up molecules for another isoform like HDAC6, develop pharmacophore. This pharmacophore, which is for HDAC6, is completely different from what was discovered for HDAC1. So this will help me identifying the HDAC specific subtype specific inhibitors. What next? So this pharmacophore was then used to, you can say, this pharmacophore was used to screen the drug-like compound which was downloaded from Zinc database. Now, Zinc database is freely available. So you can download these compounds, prepare your own library, and this data sets, if I talk about how many compounds we screened, you can see we prepared 650 subsets. Each subset had 25,000 compounds. So total number of compounds which were screened were 650 into 25,000. And this was screened using the software, which is a paid software, using screen database protocol. And then finally, what it gives is a result is fit value, which I explained that fitting in all the four feature, estimated activity. Then we perform another kind of screening that all those compounds which are available on Zinc may not be drug-like or filtered through ADME parameters. ADME parameters are looking at adsorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, and toxicity. All these parameters are important in the later phase of drug development when it goes to in vivo chemical testing. This survived only 400 best fit compounds. From this number, 25,000 into 650, we survived only 400 best fit compounds. These compounds were further analyzed looking at the structural diversity, common substructure. There is another filter here. We were left with only 55 hits compounds, and these compounds at final stage will be procured or synthesized and in vitro screen, and you will get the still not drug compound but the hit or lead compound. So this slide just shows that these are the predicted activity and the fit value. So you can say fit value was something around 9.5 for the highest. So that is why it is not a drug compound. The fit value for drug was approximately 12. So it has to be a lead compound which has to be modified according to the, so, but we have screened out millions of compounds and reached only to around 50 compounds. So first, what next is done is take all these compounds and dock them into the enzyme binding site to see whether it is performing the same mechanism for which they are being discovered for. So for this, first we have to see how the training set compounds are behaving inside the binding site. So all the training set compounds are docked into the binding site using software tools. Now docking is some exercise which I should talk about here. I've not put some basic slides of docking, where what we do is prepare the download the PDB structure of the protein from the protein data bank, and prepare a library of compounds. For example, these 55 hit compounds or the training set which were utilized for pharmacophore building, and then draw their structure, energy minimize them, and then place them inside the binding site of the protein and run the docking software. There are some freely available docking software also, some paid software also. So what we get as a result is how the compounds are interacting into the binding site with some energies, which is called, for this particular software, it is cDocker software. The energy is coming as the cDocker energy or cDocker interaction energy. We also compared whether the high energy molecules had the high fit value or not. So we could find some confidence that whatever we identified through the virtual screening, they were docking well or not. So we had to dock our training set. So zinc database compounds were also docked, and those with high dock values as well as the fit values can be now the compounds which should be designed and synthesized. And now I'll give you one particular aspect of this particular problem, where estimated activities can also be checked using a three-dimensional QSAR kind of exercise. When I say three-dimensional QSAR, if you people have somewhere heard in your basic slides, or somewhere in basics, there is a theory called structure activity relationship for optimizing the drug molecules. So what chemists or medicinal chemists do is, if one known drug is there, let's say I'll talk about the penicillin is there, then they try to modify various functionalities around the penicillins and try to establish, again look at the activity and try to establish, once they put the structure, new chemical entity, whether the activity is improved or not. That was a qualitative analysis of structure activity relationship. Now what is uh, quantitative structure activity relationship is when you try to compute some properties of the molecule onto the computers and then try to correlate with their activity. And when it comes to three-dimensional QSAR, it is now three-dimensional chemical features equated to the activities. So this is a whole exercise which is again in one particular lecture. I cannot cover all the topics. I just restricted myself to the pharmacophore development. So again, literature compounds, the same literature compounds which were used for pharmacophore development were used here for three-dimensional QSAR, where we take these compounds, overlay their structures, and try to find out what are the regions in a molecule which are responsible for activity, for high activity of the compounds. So this is something called, a technical term is comparative molecular field analysis, is called COMFA or COMSIA. Don't go into too much details, but the picture I can explain you. Why I put this picture is, this particular exercise, which is three-dimensional QSAR, this is the highly active compound number 1, which was used in pharmacophore development. We try to develop what are the reasons around the molecule which can be improved upon, and some functionalities can be put so that the activity improves. So this kind of exercise gives a similar kind of thing when we get the information from docking also. So from docking also we get similar kind of, that this is the functionality which is interacting in the binding site for a highly active compound, and for the compound which is a zinc compound, is the same type of interactions are there, and where is the point where we can improve upon. So where we should put the electron rich groups, where we should have electron deficient group, where should have a hydrophobic group, where should we have a hydrophilic group. All this information can be extracted out from this kind of analysis. The final is there in this picture. So this picture gives that this kind of analysis, which is docking combined with the three-dimensional QSAR, it suggested some things like this blue regions, they are telling what docking has suggested, and this green region is suggesting what the 3D QSAR has expressed or is explaining us. So you can say this 3D QSR tells that you need electron donor group here, and docking analysis tells that this particular functional group or CH2 linker, it is participating in non-polar interaction in the enzyme binding site. This whole group is coming as interacting group in the protein binding site as far as docking exercise is concerned. And 3D QSR is also telling that a sterically bulky scaffold is needed for activity. Similarly, this functionality, which is coming as interacting with histidine 611, 651, phenylalanine 620 and 680 into the binding site, 3D QSR is also suggesting that hydrophobic ring is required for activity. So you can just say this is a comparative slide of structure-based drug design and a ligand-based drug design. This green color is coming only from the ligand-based things, and this blue color is coming from structure-based docking approach. So both the approaches are giving quite similar kind of information. When we combine these two, the design of further molecule become very easy. So this kind of analysis or computational techniques are very useful for optimizing the hit compounds. So with this, I think I have uh, just finished in time, 5 minutes before 2. So I should acknowledge most of the drugs, the work which has been done in this I presented few initial slides also. So a lot of PhD students have carried out those works, Saroj for CCK, Joyita for CCK, and then Ruby for Cox, and Monica for Aztec, then Nalini for another CDK type of compound. And these are the current batch of students. I should also acknowledge always the funding. Without funding, nothing is possible. The whole bioinformatics work facility was funded by DBT. And there are, of course, my collaborators, which make my life easy to work at ACBR. And also I would like to thank Pallavi again to give me opportunity to talk in front of you. So I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'm happy to take any questions if they are there. I hope I have tried to keep it as simple as possible and try to skip too much terminologies and try to keep it simple for the students. There should be some queries and
No,
questions are welcome.
ma'am, it has been absolutely informative and it was very simple also. You have tried to keep it at their level, and well said, without funding, without our students, where we will be. So we should be thankful to our PhD students and our undergrads who work with us in the projects.
Yes, yes.
Yes, questions please, participants. You can write in the chat.